Good evening and welcome to the School Site Acquisition Charge webinar. So I want to respectfully honor and acknowledge that we are meeting in the unceded territory and lands of the Secwepemc peoples, where we live, love, and learn every day. So tonight I have myself, Art McDonald, Director of Facilities, along with
Chelsea Eisner, Director of Communications and Board Administration.
Rhonda Nixon, Superintendent of Schools.
So just a quick run through of what we're planning for this webinar. The purpose is to review the proposed changes to the school site acquisition charge and to gather feedback and questions. Goals are to listen to the feedback and questions and to respond with any necessary changes. And the outcome of this process will be to share your feedback and questions as well as propose responses with the Board of Education. We have a Board of Education comprised of 9 elected school trustees, and in Board Policy 2, the Board of Education is responsible for approving the acquisition of buildings and land. And just to let you know, in the public spectrum of community engagement, the first step on the left is we are informing you. The second step is we are consulting, and the goal of the consultation is to obtain public feedback and what we're doing. And we will not necessarily be involving you, collaborating with you, or empowering you, because the final decision rests with the Board of Education. So our approach to community engagement for this topic is we are engaging with all the relevant stakeholders, such as the Southern Interior Construction Association, the local Canadian Home Builders Association, the City of Kamloops, our District Parent Advisory Council, our Indigenous Education Council, the KTTA Executive, CUPE Executive, the KTP VPA Executive, and all staff and parents have been notified as well. And how will we engage? So obviously we've got the Zoom webinar tonight. Information has been sent to stakeholders via email. And we will also review and respond to questions received via the district website until January 31st. And after that is complete, we will share the feedback with the Board of Education. So a little bit of background. The school site acquisition charge is a per unit charge on eligible new housing to collect funds from new residential development to assist in paying for the cost of new school sites, which are necessary to provide land for construction of new schools to accommodate student populations generated by this new residential development. School districts must have an SSAC in place for the ministry to provide funding for new school site acquisitions. And the SSAC is collected by local governments, and in this case, that's the City of Kamloops, and is forwarded to the school district. The calculation of the SSAC values is based upon the number of development units forecast over the next 10 years, including the number of students from these developments and the cost of the identified new sites for the new schools. So a little bit of background, the school site acquisition charge is not actually a new charge. This has been in place for a few years now. On May 31st, 2021, the Board of Education approved the school site acquisition charge bylaw, which is only implemented within the City of Kamloops, as no future school site needs were identified in other communities within the school district. And at that time, the rates were set at $288 per single family unit, $259 per multifamily low density unit, and $201 per multifamily high density unit. And the status as to why we're here now, we received updated housing forecasts from the city in late 2023. As a school district, we received funding approval in the spring of 2024 for the new secondary school site in Aberdeen, and that leaves us with 2 previously identified elementary school sites needed in the Aberdeen area. We have contracted Urban Systems to update the school site acquisition report. They're the same firm that did the original report back in 2020. And the SSAC calculation methodology is prescribed by the ministry, so we don't have a lot of leeway in how we do the calculations. So a quick run through the table, and this is contained in the Urban Systems report. This is how they're calculated. So we start with our enrollment projections for the next 10 years. There's a number called pent-up demand, which is basically room that's needed for students that already exist. We have a net increase requiring new facilities. We have students from eligible development units, and this typically does not match the 10-year enrollment increase up in line 1. And the main reason for that is just timing. When we do the calculations, they're based on the information we get from the city of Kamloops without any consideration as to when we think students will actually show up. From there, we take line 1 up here, divided by line 3. So that's the enrollment increase proportion, which is 79%. It's the same number for development proportion. The estimated costs of new properties at $6.29 million. That is based on appraisals we had done back in April. And then we take 79% of the $6.29 million, gets us to the $4.969 million. And then the ministry calculations prescribe a maximum of 35% of that number can be paid through the school site acquisition charge, which gets us down to $1.739 million. And from the calculations completed, we're looking at 6,885 eligible development units, which gives us an average charge per unit of $253. And from that, again, from the ministry prescribed values, they assign factors to different types of housing. So you can see single family is 1.25. So we take the $253 base rate, multiply it by 1.25 to get $316. And the maximum charge column over in the right-hand side in the SSAC guidelines that the ministry provides, these are the maximum that we would be allowed to charge if we exceeded those numbers. And we do not, so we will be looking at these per unit charges in this middle column. Just a quick summary, when we look at this, for single family, we're looking at changing the SSAC value from $288 to $316, not quite a $30 increase. For multifamily low density, goes from $259 to $285, and for multifamily high density and medium density from $201 to $221. So going forward, in terms of our overall process, once the consultation period is completed, as I mentioned before, is the end of January, district staff will take a report to the board for recommendation. Once that's complete, the updated SSAC proposal gets forwarded to the city of Kamloops for acceptance or comment, and the board updates bylaw 5, school site acquisition charge, and new rates are applied by the city of Kamloops. And this is a very similar process that we went through when this was first implemented. The only difference was back then we had to create bylaw 5. This time we're just updating it. As far as communication tools, if you have any questions that you don't think of tonight and want to send them in via our webpage, when you go on our webpage, you look under school site acquisition charge and you click here. And that will take you to this page, and you would want to come down in the bottom left corner where it says click here. And what it says, and you probably can't read it, is if you have questions or feedback, please email us here. Those questions will get to us, and we will provide responses to all questions and post them on our website. So at that point, that concludes the presentation portion of this, and we're just going to open up the Q&A section on Zoom to any questions you may have.
If you have any questions, please enter them into the Q&A along the bottom menu of your Zoom, and we will answer as many as we can.
Okay, so we've got a question. What is the reasoning to stay at the minimum charge per unit and not go higher? Well, the reason for that is we have to follow the calculations, and the calculations do not allow us to go higher. Okay, thank you. We're not seeing any more questions, so I will just go back one slide. Just as a reminder, if you think of something later that you want to ask, please feel free to go to our website. And please also note that after tomorrow, this webinar will be posted to the website. So if you want to review it again, you can. And just want to say thank you for taking time out tonight to join us. And feel free to submit questions to our website. Thank you.